Welcome to Vibrant Life. This is Brent Lokker, and as you can see behind me here, I am not in my studio. I'm actually at a very good friend's house who have offered their home to me to get away and write. And that's what I'm doing. Behind me is Gig Harbor in Washington. And I just wanted to put out a short video to let you know what I'm up to. I am writing this book about loving yourself the way God does. Most of you probably know that I've already written a book called Always Loved. The subtitle is that you are God's treasure, not his project. And that book, though some of it was designed to help people love themselves, mostly it was about receiving the Father's love, understanding his tender-hearted passion for you as his child, no matter what. And in this book, I've had so many people that have said, please, could you write another book that would explain further how to take this in, but also how I can love myself in this same way. And so that's what I did. And really this started because about 5 years ago, after I'd already written the first book, I was waking up one morning and I was in between that half awake, half asleep state. And I hear this voice, this very familiar voice. It was the Lord's voice saying to me, I want you to love yourself more. And I was still kind of, foggy headed, but I remember my brow kind of furrowed because my brain was already thinking through all this. And I thought, wow, God, you know that I'm that one that wrote the book, right? Like, I thought I was doing a pretty good job of loving myself. Well, at least I thought I was doing better than other people. Oops. Whoops. How many of you know that God is never interested in how you compare to anyone else? He always wants his very best for each one of his children, including you. God's not into comparing you, will not compare you to anybody. And when we compare ourselves to others, we're really doing our own self a disservice. Again, because we often feel like we just don't measure up compared to other people. Or we can just say, well, I've done good enough. And God says, no, actually, you already are good enough, but I've got so much more for you. So don't worry about comparing anymore. Just step into the fullness of life I have for you. So there I was, and I said to God, okay, then you're going to have to help me. Because God said to me, I want you to love yourself the way I love you. And I knew that was something I could not do by myself. I knew I had to participate, but I knew that when God was saying that to me in that way, I need you and I want you to love yourself in the same way that I love you, I knew that was a whole different ballgame. So that's where I said, Lord, help me. And by the way, that's just a great thing to do. Anytime that you feel God is encouraging you to try something new or to, open your heart up to a different way he wants you to see yourself, always ask for help. Say, yes, Lord, and how do I do that? Help me, please. He never wants you to fix yourself, work on yourself. We can't actually do that, not apart from his Spirit. It's not possible. And so the Lord had me start to learn how to talk more kindly to myself, which a lot of that is our self-talk, right? Where you can be driving down the road for 15 minutes without realizing you've been bombarding your mind with conversation that is tearing yourself down. And the problem with that, I learned a lot about brain science in all of this, and that's going to be included in this book as well, is that every time you have a thought, it's actually taking up space in your brain. The neurons are firing off. And what that means is that when you have wrong thoughts, and what I mean is just thoughts that are tearing you down, that are not the Father's thoughts, well, then it's like a little tree that's growing. And the more you have those thoughts that are tearing you down, the bigger this neural network becomes. It looks like a little tree, right in your brain here. And so the problem with that is this is why lies seem so real, because they're taking up space in your brain. So of course they feel real. This is why we can't depend on our feelings all the time. Feelings are good, but you can't count on them to always tell you the truth about who you are. So that's what was happening, and I started to learn that when we actually partner with God, then He can change the way the physiology of our brain is. And this is how it works. We ask God for His help. The thoughts that were wrong thoughts, they start to diminish when we say no to them. We say, no, that's not who I am. I'm not going to keep rethinking those thoughts. And instead, the good thoughts, God, this is what you think of me. I am your favored child. I'm the one that you love to be with. And you can see then the tree starts growing and growing. I've covered this in another video, but I wanted to bring it up again because it's so important that we start asking God to help us to pay attention when we're picking up wrong thoughts, and to say no to them, and then tell us what the good thoughts are, His thoughts towards us, and He will do it. His Spirit lives in you. There's no disconnect, none whatsoever. And then the other thing He had me start doing is looking in the mirror, just like I'm looking at you right now. Only He says, look in the mirror, Brent, and I want you to say to yourself with kindness. That means you're seeing the little kind wrinkles right around your face. I love you. And let me tell you, friends, when you're not used to loving yourself, that feels really weird. And He had me do many other mirror exercises, which I will write about in this book. And so I wanted this book to be super practical, super helpful. I always write from the heart, meaning I'm trying to connect with your heart. I want you to even cry at times when you're reading my books, as in the good tears, as in your heart is waking up again to what's true about you. And so that's the way I'm writing this book. I'm having a great time doing it. My hope is that this is going to be out in the next few months. And I just want to thank you all for continuing to come back to Vibrant Life, to this channel, to be encouraged by words that uplift you, to be continually reminded of a Father who simply adores you, and nothing's going to change His mind or His opinion about you. And this is actually what sets you free. It does take some time, but I'm telling you, it gets better and better and better, because the more that we disagree with the lies, they literally start shriveling and are taken away at some point. And the more we agree with the truth of what God says, who He says we are, the more real it feels. Now, honestly, what happens is you can sit down, and I do this all the time. Within a moment, I reflect inwardly to my Papa, and I know He loves me as His son. And I just say, oh, there you are. I'm yours. I belong. And the warm feelings are there. The smile is on my face. A lot of times I'm even laughing as I just spend time in a moment to quiet myself. And I try to do that when I'm feeling out of sorts, when something wants to make me anxious again. I just say to all of you, just slow down a little bit. This is where God says, be still and know that I'm God. That's not a knowledge up here. That's your heart, entwining with His. That's when your spirit starts to remember and connect in with God's Spirit. Oh yeah, I belong. Oh yeah, you're working everything out for my good. Oh yeah, you love me. I'm a loved child of the King. And honestly, friends, it doesn't get any better than that. So I bless you so much. I always say that because I mean it. I bless you. I bless you because your life is good. Your journey is good. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And in this book and in other places, I talk about some of the hard places we have to go to, some of the ways in which we learn about the Father's heart through the difficult times. That's real too. Just know that you are wildly loved all the time. And I bless you from Gig Harbor, Washington.